welcome everyone. We are very much excited to have today Tirtha Karki from Sunsari, who is also one of the successful mentors of Aptis Action Research Mentoring Scheme run by British Council, managed by British Council. Uh, he will be sharing his experiences later. Today, particularly, we will focus on strategies or let's say the research instruments which will employ to carry out exploratory phase or carry out action research in exploratory phase, which we'll be talking massively later. For the time being, so let me share let me share today's discuss agenda. And today we won't have Suman Laudari sir and uh, Lakshiman sir as well. It's by chance, actually, it's a great luck. Today Lakshiman sir is traveling to my university here in Ireland, and we'll share different stories about you and about our progress as well, how we've been doing. So let me share the screen for, let me begin by sharing the screen. Uh, I will uh, cancel the presenter as Tirtha sir so that I can share my screen for the time being, and then I'll hand it over to Tirtha sir. I'll share the desktop. Uh, can you all see my desktop right now? So, uh, okay. Today's agenda, as I told briefly, is all about strategies or research instruments which we'll employ, and Tirtha sir will be dealing in a great deal. So uh, I'm just going to share quickly the our agenda for today. This is what we'll be doing today, discussing the potential strategies we employ to explore our problems or puzzles and how we can use them. So uh, don't focus on some strategies which you will use as plans for action, which uh, our Tirthasar will also be telling you. But today, again, I'm reiterating again because we'll go phase wise. So we'll focus on potential strategies. Uh, and plan for the next month, which I will reiterate as well at the end. But now, once this May session gets over, from June to August, which will be entirely the research period, we'll be conducting research on the basis of today's talk and then the discussion we had earlier. And what we will do in the next couple of webinars, at least three different webinars, is we will actually invite you 3 to 5 participants in each webinar, like you guys, like whoever are interested, you will share. For example, within a first few weeks, let's say 1 week or in 2 weeks, you will share, you are interested to share your research project, and then we'll manage and we'll promote you as a presenter. So you'll be the participant presenter and you'll be sharing your own stories. And yes, those who haven't finalized research questions will work on questions so far. I mean, yeah, with the help of all of us, let's say, we all will be together. And those who have finalized research questions will help others to save their research questions, which we had shared later as well. So the pace, definitely the pace, matters, but we will work together so that you will feel always we are in a team, and then we are going thoroughly in a process. So don't worry, some of you might be might have already selected some strategies or let's say some research instruments to carry out your research, but some of you are still maybe in a process of finalizing research questions. So don't worry, through the asynchronous tool with what do we call Edmodo, or sometimes through the email correspondence as well, we can resolve this issue. Without much further ado, I would like to hand it over to Tirtha sir. Let me first of all, stop sharing my desktop and then promote Tirtha sir as presenter. Over to you, Tirtha sir.
Uh, Thank you, Sagan sir. Namaste to you all. It's my great pleasure to be a guest presenter in this webinar series. Sagunji already introduced me. I am Tirtha Karki and I work at Janta Multiple College as an English teacher. And I have also gained some experiences of conducting exploratory action research. In fact, I mentored 10 teachers to carry out exploratory action research, and today I will be sharing what I did during my exploratory action research journey and what my 10 teachers or 10 mentees did in their exploratory action research project. Let me share my desktop now. It may take a moment. It's coming. Well, I think it's okay now. Fine. Uh, Let me talk about the background of AMS Sunsari project. This AMS means Aptis Action Research and Mentoring Scheme launched by British Council Nepal. It was in fact 6 months long exploratory action research journey, or let's say classroom research journey. In total, there were 10 teachers who were participants in our exploratory action research project. The teachers were from different schools of Sunsari district, and they were selected in terms of their enthusiasm to resolve the classroom problems or the puzzles they experienced in their classroom. Mostly, they were enthusiastic and motivated to participate in this project, thinking that they could explore some effective instruments or effective strategies to resolve their classroom problems they had been facing for several years. Uh, uh, in the project, they all the teachers, all 10 mentees, they developed exploratory research questions to explore their problems in depth. Likewise, they developed data collection tools to collect data before and after the intervention. You may be a little bit confused before and after after the intervention. It means collecting data before and after intervention. So I think you are already familiar with stages of exploratory action research, since we have two stages. Before action, we have exploration period, and during the exploration period, the teachers, they framed research questions, and then to explore their research questions and to understand their problem in depth, all the teachers, they developed tools to collect data, and before they implemented any particular strategies, and after they implemented particular strategies, again they collected the data, and they compared they compared the data before they introduced their intervention strategies, and again they collected data after they implemented intervention strategies, and they compared the changes, whether their intervention strategies functioned or not. Okay, they analyzed the data and developed action plan. I think you people are also at different stages of this project. I'm not sure, but I believe that some of you have developed your action plan, and some of you are still collecting data, or some of you are still at the phase of finalizing the tools to collect data. Okay, again, continuing our background of AMS Sunsari project. So what happened when they collected data, they analyzed the data, and then they understood their problem in depth, whether it was a genuine problem or not, whether it was a genuine puzzle or not, whether that problem was manageable or not. So they analyzed the data they collected, and after that they implemented the plan. And then while implementing the plan, the teachers, they got the suggestions from the students. They had a discussion with the students. It was interview with the students, or some of the teachers had focus group discussion interview with the students, and then some of the teachers consulted with the experienced teachers or other experts on the field. Likewise, they also sourced websites, and then they got or they analyzed the most effective strategies, and then after analyzing their data, they implemented the strategies in order to cope with the problems they were facing into their classrooms. uh, After that, they had post-intervention data collection. It means that when they implemented the strategies to solve the problems they are facing into their classroom, then they again collected the data, and they compared the data collected before the intervention and after the intervention. And they compared the data they collected before and after the intervention, and they analyzed the data. And finally, in our this APTIS action research project, the teachers did not write any kind of report, or they did not write any kind of proposal, but their final dissemination of the findings of their research, they shared from poster presentation. We had a mini teacher research conference I held here in Italy, and then they shared the findings of their exploratory action research to a larger group through a poster presentation. This is all about the background of this AMS action research project. So if you have any queries at the moment, so I want to hear you, and then I want to go ahead. Okay. Now I'm going to share the issues of my two mentees. I'm going to share with you what my two mentees did in their whole research project. The first case is of Mr. Sajan. It's a pseudonym. Mr. Sajan, he teaches in a community school in Sunsari. His class consists of 80 plus students. He says around 90 students are there in his class, and his class consists of heterogeneous learners with mixed ability. Some learners are of some learners were of good proficiency, and some learners did not have good proficiency, and some learners were average learners. So yeah, so he was in a trouble, in the sense that he was asking me frequently how to carry out this research in such big class, and then such a mixed ability class. Also, majority of the students where he teaches speak. The learners are of Chaudhary as first language learners, and majority of the learners, their first language is Tharu. They speak Tharu language, and they were found low proficient even in Nepali language. And generally, Tharu people, those who know Tharu people, they are generally shy in nature. And the teachers, even Sajan was struggling how to make the reluctant or shy students as active students into his classroom. His main problem was his students did not participate in class. Especially majority of the students were found so reluctant to take part in every activity he was conducting. And as an English teacher, he had a huge pressure to address the expectations of the school administration, school management committee, and then parents as well. The parents want good English from their students. However, the level of students was not found satisfactory in his class, and he was so worried, and he was very enthusiastic as well to solve this problem. And then he felt that this project was very effective for him in order to resolve his classroom problem. Let me share his topic of exploratory action research. So he was worried why his students did not participate actively in classroom activities. Whatever activities he conducted, and only the frontliners or the students sitting on the first front benches only were found taking part and were found active, but majority of the students were found very passive into his classroom, and he wanted to explore his problem in depth, and he wanted to find out what could be the best strategy to address his problem. And to understand his sovereignty.
Yeah, there's a question. I'm sorry to interrupt all of a sudden in between. There's a
Sure.
question from
Okay.
Persus Shrestha sir. He's asking Sai in what sense? You said like yeah.
Sorry, Sagunji. Sorry, Sagunji.
Persus Shrestha sir has asked the question like Sai in what sense?
Okay.
Yeah, Sai students. Yeah.
Okay, especially the culture of the rural areas of Tharu people, especially the girls do not like to talk to the strangers or even to the teachers. When they were asked questions, they were not interested to answer the questions, even to the teachers, and even the especially the girls do not have face-to-face eye contact with the students, right? And then they were not willing to take part in any classroom activity.
So
Is it all right?
yeah, Persus sir, is it clear now? Persus sir, is it clear now? Otherwise, you can drop your message in chat box. I have the same problem in my school. Could you open chat box for the time being, Tifa sir? And
Okay,
could you
fine.
please place it on side for the time being?
Yes, sure,
Yes.
sure.
Persus Shrestha sir had said yes, and then him Gautam sir has mentioned I have the same problem in my school. Majority of students are the the who are okay.
Yes, yes, definitely. Community and Scanfish presenting. Okay. Mm, yes, yes. Okay, fine. So to understand his problem in depth, then he had he had framed some research questions, and then so that he could understand the problem in depth, and he could sort the best strategies in order to cope with the problem he was facing into his classroom. So let me share his research questions now. The first research question was, what shows me that students are not participating? In the same way, how do my students feel about activities in English class? And in my talk with Sajan, he said that before, in the previous module of action research, and when they found any problem, then they used to immediately think the solution for the problem. But in this project, then he learned that it was better to talk to the students about the activities into his classroom he was conducting. So he had one research question, and he wanted to ask how the students feel towards the problem, towards the activities he was conducting in his classroom. So it was another one of the benefits I say to the teachers before thinking about any solution. It's better to talk to the students, and then the students can also suggest why that problem exactly is taking place. And then Sajan was interested to find out the opinions of the students regarding his activities into his classroom. And similarly, he wanted to know, why don't my students ask any questions when they get confused? I think this is the problem for many teachers. Whenever the teachers ask to the students, do you understand? And the students instantly reply, yes, we do. But when we ask what you understand, or can you say something about the content, and the students are found unanswered. So he wanted to ask why. He wanted to know why students were unable to ask questions in his class. Likewise, he wanted to know, why don't his students like to sit and share ideas with their partners? I think many teachers in Nepal have this problem. The students do not want to even sit with the other students who are not their best friends, even they are not willing to communicate and interact with the other students, and he wanted to know why it was happening in his classroom. And again, his next question was, what do students say are reasons for not participating in classroom activities or in classroom activities actively? So he also wanted to know, was there any problem the students were facing in order to not participating in his classroom? And finally, he was also interested to explore how the other teachers whom he know or his colleagues are working in order to resolve or in order to improve this situation. So these 5 research questions, exploratory research questions, Sargent framed, and then he started, and later on, keeping these questions in mind, he started to collect data. Dear teachers, can you imagine or can you guess what research instruments or what tools did Sargent use in order to collect data? So do you have any ideas?
Yeah, could you please text in the chat box, please?
So how did Sargent collect data in order to answer every research question in his research project? Okay. Tilak sir, Tilak sir says the questionnaire. Okay, focus group discussion. Yeah.
What could be other strategies?
Okay, talk to teachers. Okay, it may processor may mean okay, he talked with the other colleagues how to solve the problem or what could be the effective strategies. All right, I'll show now the strategies means or the instruments he applied in order to collect data to understand his problem in depth. Well, one of the tools he used was interview, and he interviewed with the students. He individually interviewed the students. Especially, he wanted to ask the students why they were not active in his classroom, why they were not taking part in every classroom activity, and especially he wanted to ask the students what they want into their classroom or what type of activities are interesting for them, or he asked his students what he had to do for his students in order to increase their participation in his classroom activities. So interview was one of the most effective tools, and then yes, questionnaire. He also distributed questionnaire to the students, especially to know like how many students were sorry. He wanted to collect some of the. He sent some open questionnaire. And one thing, some of my teachers were talking to me that when questionnaire was used and then the students could not understand English, questionnaire in English. So in that case, Sargent used both languages, not Tharu. Sargent used English and Nepali, both languages, in order to collect responses from the students. It means that Sargent developed questionnaire in both languages, Nepali and English, so that he could get some responses from the students. Next, classroom observation. This classroom observation, in the sense that from classroom observation, he explored the situation of his classroom instruction. It means that how the students were participating into the classroom, who were participating, who were not participating into his classroom activities. In the same way, this observation, through his observation, he had his own reflection. He could have his self-reflection, what was going on into his classroom. So self-reflection was another tool he used to collect the data. So up to now here, do you have any questions for the instruments and research questions?
Uh, yeah, Tirtha sir, could you pick up some of the points there? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, could you pick up some of the
Sabanji?
points in chat box and then address them? Like Jivan Bhattrai sir
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
Nepali
Okay,
can be
fine.
used in. Yeah, sure.
Yes, definitely. Because if our intention is to collect the responses from the students, so in this sense, using Nepali even to collect questionnaire, I believe won't be less effective. So many things go at the same time. How we can make observation of class? Okay, how can self use for collecting data? Will the science students ready to share in interview? Well, so he had individual talk, and then if the students did not talk to him, then he. Could you clarify self? Okay, fine. What Sajan did in his self-reflection, okay, self-reflection process was that he wrote I asked him to write what happened in his class and when he implemented his intervention strategies, and then Sajan every day wrote what was happening into his classroom, and then was his intervention strategy if working or not, and then what was not working and what was working. He every day had writing, and then he shared with me the progress. So I think I answered Parsu sir while reflecting in his progress of intervention strategy. He documented what he did in his whole class, and then his feeling what strategy worked and what strategy did not work, and then what he wanted to improve in the next class. So in that sense, he used a reflection, and that was also very effective for him because he could observe the progress of his intervention strategy into his classroom.
Next
After
interesting.
that,
Sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Tirtha sir. Uh, could be
yes.
interesting question from Tilak Kharka sir as well. If you check, Tilak sir has mentioned there, will the Sai students ready to share an interview?
Uh, yes. In fact, Sajan was also from that same community, and Sajan also speaks Tharu. And then, in that sense, he used Tharu to talk to Tharu students, and then it took some days to build a rapport for the students. And then, in fact, he also speaks Tharu very fluently, and then he communicated with the students who were not extrovert, and then talking in Tharu, and then talking regularly, and he was able to get some responses from the Sai students. I think I addressed his question, Sabanji.
Yep. That's really good
Yeah,
strategy to use mother tongue as well to explore or to make students feel comfortable, which we might at times overlook.
yeah, definitely. Now I'm sharing you plans for action. I think you are not at this stage and you are not focusing at this stage. However, I have kept here these points what Sajan did in order to solve his problem. And then when he talked to the students suggested him that language games could be effective for them if they get chance to play the games, and then they could participate in games, especially Sajan used games in groups. And then what happened, the students do not want to lose the games, therefore every group was equally active to participate in the game, and they wanted to win. Therefore use language games, and some of the students they suggested they wanted translation as well, to understand. And then Sajan also used translation. Translation was used not always, but when it was required, when the situation demanded, and and then if he had to explain a lot instead of not using translation, in such situation he used translation as well. And project work, the students had project work, and then work on different things. For example, their local culture and their festivals, and then environmental concerns. They had project work. He divided the students into different groups in terms of the ability of the learners, multiple intelligences of the learners, and then they carried out a project work. And that project work also increase the participation of the students, and then group and pair work for language games and for project work. So these were the plans for his action. So this is the situation of Mr. Sajan Chaudhary. Now I'm going to share the issues of my another teacher.
There are some questions, few
Sajanji?
questions from the participants.
Okay,
Like,
okay,
uh,
fine.
Persu sir has asked, would be better if you specify which strategy to which question. Probably you will do it at the end as well, I think. Is that?
You mean tool, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Mm, so after I share my mentee's context, then we focus on the tools and question.
matching, right. Okay, Persu sir. So please wait for some time. He will be addressing. Now, Chetraj sir has asked the question related to probably, yeah, its plans for action, which we might not deal quite a lot, but yeah, he can clarify. Tifa sir will clarify. What sorts of games are used in the class? Chetraj sir's question. And Persu sir's question is like, what language games for exercises?
Well, he had a lot of language games. For example, some board games, and then again some group games. For example, bingo. He used bingo, and then word definition in the same way. So by just saying the names, I think they may not understand clearly. Board games they understand, and then word definition game they understand. And find someone who was also one of the games he used. Likewise, he had a list of games.
Okay.
I think it's okay.
Yeah. Okay, please go ahead.
Fine. Okay, now another case is of Chandrakala. She also teaches in a community school in Morang district. Her classroom also consists of learners with mixed ability, and her class also consists of large number of students. She noticed, okay, in her classroom, she noticed majority of students were reluctant to speak and write in English, but she felt that they could not speak and write in English because they had very poor vocabulary. So she wanted to address her students low situation, or her students low proficiency in vocabulary. She wanted to work on this issue. And she was interested to solve this classroom problem through exploratory action research. Her research topic was why her students were not motivated towards learning vocabulary, why they were found bored in learning vocabulary. And she framed some research questions like, what shows me that students are not motivated towards learning vocabulary? What difficulties do students say they have in learning new vocabulary? Similarly, how do they feel about learning vocabulary? And what strategies am I applying in teaching new vocabulary items? And how are my colleagues teaching vocabulary in their English class? So these were the research questions she wanted to answer to understand her problem in depth before she implemented any intervention strategies. Then her research tools were reflective journal, it's self-reflection, classroom observation, questionnaire for the students, and interview with the colleagues, and again interview with the students, and her plan for sense. So in this context, do you have any questions?
Uh, I have one question, by the way.
Sure,
Before
sure.
other participants put, let me put it myself. So the question is regarding observation. How can,
Okay.
or to what extent it is possible for a teacher to observe his and the students sorry, not only his or her here in case of her and then the participants interaction by oneself, or do you mean by observation by one of the colleagues inviting in the class, or yeah?
In both ways. She also invited one of her colleagues to observe and suggest her about her problem or about her classroom situation. And in the same time, she could also observe what the students were doing, the responses of the students, and by observation, writing her own self-reflection. So observation could be done from teachers on from by the teachers or by the teachers themselves. The teachers can also invite the colleague to observe and suggest the teachers.
Could you please turn on
Any
your
more questions? You see there?
chat box?
Okay.
There are a few questions.
How did interview with the students and teachers help to collect the data? Well, talking to the students also can say why the students are not participating in classroom activities. Sometimes what type of activities the students want in their classroom. The students can clearly present the classroom scenario. The students can clearly tell to the teachers what they want into their classroom. And if the teachers implement any strategy into their classroom, responding the concerns of the students, then it can definitely increase the ownership into the students and the students' level of participation and the students' level of or the students will be active in the classroom. In that sense, talking to the students is highly significant to resolve any classroom problems, because any strategies used in the classroom are implemented to bring the change in students' behavior. In that sense, interview works effectively. Yes, we shared this in Heteroda conference also, Jivanji.
And Persis Sir's question is, sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Persis
Sure.
Sir's question is, what do you mean by mime?
Okay, mime is fine. Mime is a demonstration of any action without words. It's action like in mime can be also made in group game. So the students can be divided into two groups, and leaders from each group go in front of the class, and the teacher gives any action word to the leaders, and the leaders act the words given to them, and the other students describe what's the leader doing. So that's what mime is, and the students can describe the action of the leader. Okay. Shall I go ahead, Subanji?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
We need to go. Well, so tools to collect data. Here I have presented here 10 different tools to collect data. Reflective writing by students. The students also can write something and can suggest to the students, suggest to the teachers. And your own written reflection and or notes after classroom observation or after teaching, the teachers can also write what happened into their classroom, self-written reflection by the teacher. Or critical friends notes. A friend can be invited into the classroom, and the friend can also write and suggest to the teachers recording of the lesson. That recording can be audio recording or video recording. Notes or recording of focus group interview. Interview can be face-to-face individual with the student, or interview can be in a group, and then either audio recording or video recording or note taking of the interview is also another tool for data collection. And notes or recording of interviews with individuals. It can be with the colleagues or students. And responses to a questionnaire, especially these responses, the responses are collected from the students. Students' work performance on tasks written or recorded. Sometimes if the teachers want to like explore the performance of the students on writing or reading or listening, at that time test can be conducted to collect the data. So test before the intervention and test after the intervention. Right. Similarly, lesson plans, materials, and reports. The teachers can also conduct. So the teachers can also review the lesson plans or review the materials they have been using into their classroom. analyzing the lesson plans, also the teachers can collect data. For example, what type of activities the teachers are using into their classroom and so on. And pictures of my class, sometimes the pictures can also reveal some data of the classroom situation. So when we matching methods to questions, so when we collect data, while collecting data, so we need to explore our perceptions, explore others' perceptions, and explore behavior. I think I need to wait for a while for the participants to go through the tools which are categorized into different headings.
We have nearly 10 minutes left.
Okay, Saganji. Then I'll read out as well. Okay, when we explore our perceptions, then to explore our own perceptions, we can have our written reflection. In the same way, we can invite a colleague to observe our classroom and then say and write something about our performance. It means to explore our own perception. And then we can also have some notes while talking with the other colleagues, and then we can also explore our own perception, our own understanding about our classroom problem. Exploring other perceptions, in this case, we can also get responses from the students. Getting responses from the students, or reflection from the students. Reflection from the students means that what do the students feel about the activities the teachers have been using into their classroom. Notes or recording of focus group discussion. Focus group discussion with the students. What do the students think about the situation in the interview or focus group discussion. Notes or recording of interviews and chats with individual, and responses to the questionnaire. While responding to the questionnaire as well, the students share their perception. And finally, exploring behavior. So what activities the teachers have been conducting into the classroom can be found out analyzing the lesson plans and materials, lesson recordings, audio or video recording of the lessons, and a critical friend's notes about your lesson. Or a colleague can be invited, and a colleague can be asked to find out or asked to suggest what was happening into the classroom of the teacher, and picture of the class and students' work or students' performance on tasks. So these are the tools to collect the data.
Any questions as of now, friends, as regards research instruments? Yeah, Chitra Joshi had said, Joshi sir had said, like, pictures of the classmates.
So pictures, sometimes if you want to focus on classroom arrangement, classroom management, in that sense, when you capture picture of your classroom, and then when you analyze you analyze the picture, and you can have some information about the classroom situation. So in that sense, sometimes the placement of the students, capturing photo, can be valuable information for the teachers. So what I want to say to the teachers, you teachers, is that you develop research questions and data collection tools to explore your self-perception, others' perception, and then behavior. Behavior will be the teachers' activities into the classroom, and students' activities into the classroom, teachers' performance into the classroom, and students' performance into the classroom.
Okay, Tivra sir. Now,
okay, let's go ahead, right?
Yeah.
So linking tools with research questions, I have here some questions. For exploring self-perception, some questions can be useful. For example, what do I mean by effective classroom management, maybe, or wrapping of classroom, maybe, or what do I feel about a particular problem or a particular issue. Likewise, why do I think happens? Maybe, why do I think my students do not participate into my classroom, maybe? Or what do I want to see happening instead of? What I want to see in my classroom instead of something else? So these are some questions that help us to explore our perception. Likewise, explore others' perceptions. For example, what do my students think, feel about something else? Or what do my students think about my, let's say, starting of the lesson, or my let's say group work in my classroom. So it's exploring the perception of the students. Likewise, what do my colleagues think of something else? The perception of the colleagues. Finally, exploring behavior. For example, how often or when does something happen? And what do I do or say when something occurs? Or what do I do or say when the students perform disruptive behavior, maybe? What do my students do or say when something else happens into my classroom? So these are some prompts. These help you to frame your research questions, and then also these questions help you to use what type of tools to collect the data. Now, very briefly, I think we don't have more time. So I want to suggest you to triangulate the data. Here, data triangulation means that you collect data from using different tools. You collect data addressing 3 different areas. It means exploring self-perception, exploring others' perception, and then exploring behavior. So use different tools, maybe classroom observation, self-reflection, interview with the students, focus group discussion, even talking with the colleagues, and so on. When you use tools, different tools, then there will be a variety of data, and then the validity of your data will be increased. So think about triangulating the data, and it will be very effective as well. Especially you get a lot of responses from different sources, and that will be very helpful for you to select the best strategies to solve your classroom problem.
Peter,
Finally,
sorry.
yes,
We
sir.
have 2 more
Sure,
questions. If you turn on your chat
sure,
box,
sure,
by Pursu sir and Jiban sir, I guess.
sure. Okay, are all 3 necessary? Well, so you will definitely have class your self-reflection, because self-reflection is very effective tool to document your progress, because it's your own clear image of your classroom performance. In the same way, you need to have discussion with the students. Can be focus group discussion, or can be questionnaire responses from the students, or you can have interview with the students, because the students suggest you, or students say you what's happening into your classroom, and what students want. So all the tools are not necessary to implement, but self-reflection through classroom observation, inviting colleague maybe to observe your classroom, your discussion with the students, and your discussion with the colleagues. So these are the most significant tools I have found my teachers using in my research project.
Okay, thank you.
So I have kept here one framework. So I think this framework guides you. Put your research question. What's your research question? For example, I have put here one. What difficulties do students say they have in learning new vocabulary? What difficulties do students say they have in learning new vocabulary? So in this sense, its focus is exploring others' perceptions. So what can be the best to address this question? So it can be interview with the students or focus group with the student. So in this way, put your all the research questions, and then specify your focus. What's your focus in your research question? After that, think what data collection tools are very effective in order to explore your question. So your data collection tools are connected with your exploratory research questions, and this focus is also connected with your exploratory research questions. So when you develop, or when you finalize your research questions, please bring variety in your research questions, addressing these 3 focuses, and then linking the tools or instruments with the research questions.
Very well put. Very well put. In fact, yeah, as we have shown three different focuses which could be aligned with different research questions, actually that make us think as well to revise our own research questions. So this is really well put. And yeah, and it also leads us to find us the potential strategies or research instruments which we can employ to address or to explore those issues which we have raised in
Just
exploratory questions.
just a minute, Sagunji. So what I want to suggest you is that develop research questions. So explore students' perception, explore colleagues' perception, explore behavior as well, and then explore your self perception. So there will be 4 to 5 research questions, and the significant research tools will be self reflection to explore self perception. In the same way, the interview and focus group discussion with the students, and then interview with the colleagues. So using these tools can support you to collect variety of responses, and that will be helpful for finalizing effective strategies, and then to collect very significant data, Sagunji.
Okay, thank you, thank you. We have nearly 5 minutes. I will take 2 to 3 minutes to wrap it up. So if you have anything, then okay. So it's done, right? Tirtha sir, are you done with the presentation?
Yes. If you have any queries, so we can talk anytime, and then I can work with you all anytime. Any support you want, or any other experiences you wanna listen from the teachers who already carried out exploratory action research. So I can do that.
Okay. So Jiban sir's question is: could you elaborate focus group discussion? Could you tell focus group discussion in a minute?
Okay, so you have focus group discussion. You have 10, 12 students at a time, and then you talk to 10, 12 students. For example, why are you hearing me?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. So one question can be, why are you not participating in every classroom activity? So this is a question, for example. Then you can talk to the students in a group why they are not taking not taking part in classroom activities. Maybe because lack of vocabulary, or they have hesitation, or they have fear. So students can respond to this question in a group, and then the students present very valuable information for the teachers. They can think now how the teachers want to address the issues the students have in common.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. It's really massive, or it's a significant presentation today because we could see the three different focuses that we could make through different research questions. The three focuses are, exploring one's one perception, exploring students' perception, and exploring behavior. So these are the three different things, and then some potential strategies as well, which could be employed to explore our research problem or puzzles. Very well put. Is thank you so much, Tirtha sir, with your significant, let's say, data as well, like
Thank you so
evidences.
much, Sagunji. It's
Yeah.
my pleasure.
Now we have 3 minutes, so I will quickly tell a few things, and then yeah, we'll wind it up. So uh, let me reiterate again what we had told. Now onwards, we are off for the off for our work. I mean, off for the research. We have dealt research questions, procedural research questions, and then the strategies. Now we all need to go for exploring our own situation. So we are giving you 3 months time, beginning from today itself. So it will be June, July, and August. We'll be exploring our own situation. In between, I'm sure there will be different kind of questions which we'll try to address being in a common team. So don't worry. Uh, so one more request is in between the exploration, like now we won't be inviting any guests or other, let's say, yeah, any guests for the presentation. Rather, now you will be taking the presenter's role. So we would like to request 3 to 5 of you to prepare something which you would like to share in between your significant progresses or your developments. So for that, we'll give you a fortnight time beginning from today itself, like within 15 days you'll bring some content, and then you'll present. Now, uh, possibly your concern will be you may not have anything for this first month, but I assume like you will have few queries or few concerns as well, which you would like to share. So in the first month, let's say, I mean in this month, let's say May, June presentation, you might still have some kind of thing. So let us know 3 to 5 presenters. Please do drop message in email, action research email. Then we'll find whether those things are really good enough at this point of time to share or not. And once we'll find like they are uh, potential things to share, then we'll do it. But I'm sure from next month you will have a lot of things because you will be exploring. This is number one. Number two, it's a kind of little bit advertisement as well, but more than advertisement, it's a kind of uh, opportunities for you guys. Let me quickly share a screen. Now we have, yeah, it's almost, the time is almost over. I'll quickly share the screen and then I will show you what I'm going to talk about. So share desktop. Uh, uh, so I will go to this web page. It is www.lrischool.edu.np. uh, why am I showing this is, in fact, they have really good conference which we initiated. Let's say we all collaboratively initiated, and this is the second ELRI success story conference of teachers. It actually asks we all teachers to share whatever successes we have gained in the teaching learning situation, in the teaching learning context, to the wider audience. So I think this will be really, really good platform for you guys as well to share your things. If you click here, you will find the entire details. And luckily, I'm also coming there. Yeah, and professor from my university is also coming there to give a speech. I'm not going to talk it about. You'll go through yourselves. So whatever you are exploring right now as well, and by then, I'm sure by August you will have something tangible to present. So at that point of time, like you might say like, okay, that this was my problem and I explored this way and I came across these findings. Now I'm going to implement them. So this is my success stories because I could explore myself. So you can bring this many different things, and for the time being right now you can write little vaguely your proposal as well. So there's a proposal submission guideline to draft a proposal. Title is 10 words, abstract is 200 words, and then yeah, this is it. It's not difficult as such. I'm sure you will be the one to achieve this. And click here to submit a proposal. If you click here, it will connect you to the form. So this form is not so long and you will just fill it up. The only point you need to do is you need to select the your title and then your abstract. And if you would love to discuss with me or Tirthaji or anyone, or let's say the entire exploratory action research team, we are very much willing to make you be able to present in the conference. Not only this, other conferences as well, but this conference significantly talks about the success story, and this was established for the same purpose. So please do send proposal, and you never know, like so your work will be definitely acknowledged, valued, and so on. So yeah, I talked a little bit. I took 2 minutes extra. Let me quickly, so again, the link is, let me, sorry, let me stop sharing the desktop now, and then uh, yep, yeah, the link is www.lrischool.edu.np, www.lrischool.edu.np, and if you write conference, 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 then you can go through that page. Thank you so much. Once again, let us give a kind of online applause to Tirtha sir for his wonderful presentation. Any questions, then we'll forward to him or we'll forward to me. Any final words from you, Tirtha sir?
Just thank you so much.
Thank,
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, everyone. Whoever had joined, and then for those of you who could not join, even if they are not present here, if they happen to ask to some of you, tell them like we will be sharing this through our one regular action resource page. It's here. I'm sharing the link. Please go through this link and then get entire details. Later on, we'll be posting all kind of project details here in this page. That's it. Yes, thanks a lot, everyone.